The Entrepreneur's Library, episode 38.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Library, the only book-centric podcast that reviews all the top-selling business books and shares authors' perspective firsthand. This is your resource to finding the next great book that will enable you to grow personally and professionally. Welcome your host, Wade Danielson.
Thank you for joining us today on the EL. Today we have Michael J. Mayer, author of 7 Levels of Communication. Welcome, Michael, and thank you for joining us on the Entrepreneur's Library.
It's great to be here. Thank you. It's a privilege and an honor, and I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Will you take just a moment to introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about you personally?
Yeah, so my name is Michael J. Mayer. Last name is spelled M-A-H-E-R, which is commonly misspelled, so I came up with a catchy, maybe even cheesy way to remember how to spell it, and that's an acronym of making a home everyone's reality, M-A-H-E-R. And that's what I did for many years is I made the American dream come true for buyers of homes and helped them create the ultimate client experience when they were moving in. And my background is in real estate. I still have a real estate company in Kansas City, and I still coach, train, and oversee over 1,500 real estate personalities even to this day. In 2004, I was introduced to the world as North America's most referred real estate professional, which of course created the phone to, ring off the hook and the emails to blow up. And once that started, I got to speaking about how to generate referrals. And now we're 10 years later, and my last audience had over 50 different professions, entrepreneurs and small business owners, in the audience. So it's definitely gone mainstream, and entrepreneurs and business owners and sales professionals everywhere are resonating and living in the generosity generation, which is what I wrote about in the book, 7L, the 7 levels of communication. The subtitle, it might be more important to the listeners, which is go from relationships to referrals. And this is certainly about going from having relationships to building great relationships, referral relationships. And that book has been number 1 on Amazon for almost 4 years now, which I'm very proud of that, because a lot of books become a bestseller and then, they ran their launch, they ran their campaign, and then it falls into obscurity. And this book is actually still writing an immense amount of momentum. And in fact, we're relaunching the second edition with about 200 differences on September 2nd. So I'm excited.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. And let's do just that. Let's jump right into your book, 7 Levels of Communication, which was, you kind of prefaced it already, but was first made available back in October 13th, 2010, with the second edition coming out September 2nd, 2014. So, Michael, we're going to move quickly, but here are some of the top questions that our listeners/readers would love to get answered. And the first one is, what was the inspiration behind writing 7 Levels of Communication?
Yeah, great question. So to maybe make a long story short, I was introduced as North America's most referred real estate professional to 100,000 listeners by a gentleman by the name of Howard Brinton. And he made me a Star Power Star, which in real estate at the time was the penultimate achievement. You couldn't do any better, because it was non-company. He was totally independent, and he chose from independents and broker large franchise type of agents. So it was kind of the best of the best. When he did that, my phone rang off the hook, my emails blew up, and everybody was asking me questions on how the heck did you become North America's most referred real estate professional, because everybody knows that referrals are the most profitable and most desirable type of business, not just in real estate, but in any service type business. So what was interesting is they were asking me about certain strategies and tactics. And I would give them an answer. I would give them the system, or I would give them the intake form. I would give them whatever I had, but I knew in my heart of hearts that, listen, this was just an answer, not the answer. So I was like, man, I need to write a book just to answer the answer versus just kind of giving them a little tidbit. So I had it in my mind for several years to write the book, just like a lot of people. I mean, how many people have you run into where it's like, I'd like to write a book? I was that person as well until December 18th, 2007. On December 18th, 2007, I had the distinction of dying. I actually heard my own heart flatline. If you're going to flatline, the place to do it is in the hospital. And if your listeners get nothing else from me besides that today, then I will feel accomplished. Just so you know that if you're going to flatline, you want to do it in the hospital. I had 7 blood clots from a knee surgery that I had a few days earlier, and 3 were in each lung, and 1 passed through my heart, basically killing me. 37 seconds later, I was resuscitated, and they were wheeling me down to the emergency surgery to put in a temporary pacemaker. And I thought of a lot of things. I thought, I don't even have a child yet. I thought of my wife. I thought of my dad, who died with one regret. Now, my dad was extremely influential. He was a teacher for 27 years before dying at the way too young age of 54 years. And over 1,000 people at his funeral. He had one regret, and that was he had not written his memoirs. He had not written a book, and he should have. It would be awesome. I can imagine reading whatever he wrote to my son, who is now 6 years old and started school this month. And it's one of those where that night in ICU, in intensive care, I outlined what became 7L on December 18th, 2007. So that's what happened. That's the inspiration is that I had to get them the answer versus just an answer to how to get a massive amount of referrals. The days of onesie, twosie referrals are over. There is a climate, a consumer climate right now that is more conducive to a massive amount of referrals than ever before.
Wow, that was the most impactful. What was the inspiration behind the book that we've gotten thus far?
Well, thank you.
Most people didn't die. That is a powerful story.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I'd love to talk more about that, but I do want to continue on with the book. But maybe we'll catch up a little bit afterwards because that's an amazing story. But what makes your book different from others regarding the same topic?
Well, that's a great question. I think the one main thing is that it is a sales tome. It's a sales book based on generosity. Right? There's the chase, for many years, it has been about chasing business, right? It's been about making the calls and knocking on the doors and hunting, right? And this book is truly about attracting and not chasing at all. But truly, if you're going to chase, it's follow up on referrals, right? Not chasing to get the business. And I truly believe that now is the time. Right. And when I say now is the time, I mean now is the time to quit marketing to strangers, and it is time to start communicating with friends. Nobody wants to be marketed to. Nobody. You don't. I don't. Right. But we like to buy. Right? We like to do things, and we love to be communicated with. And the problem isn't a marketing problem in the world. It's a communication problem. It's us communicating our solutions to our community. And when we communicate the solutions in an I'm here to help and I am here to serve way, it becomes extremely attractive. To the point where you're going to need to hire other like-minded people to grow that sales avenue, that sales funnel part of your business, which is repeat and referral.
Excellent. How would you suggest, Michael, that the reader engage with your book? Is this a book they should read from beginning to end, or is this one that they can jump in and utilize different resources within the chapters?
I think one of the reasons that the book has been a bestseller for almost 4 years, and a publisher picked it up, and now they're pouring hundreds of thousands of dollars into this book, is because it's really a book with tons of depth, right? is the first, what people don't know is we created a genre called the power parable. Now, if people like Patrick Lencioni or Bob Berg or many of the others John Gordon, who write the parables, they're going to love this book because it's a love story. It's a story, and it's actually a love story that even a guy could read. Right? It's a love story with a lot of impact. Well, there's that parable piece to it, but we created this genre that this is a parable, but it's heavy in content as well. So there are over 100 referral generating strategies in 7L. Over 100 referral generating strategies that are intertwined into the story. So the first way to read it is to open it up and read it to see how the story ends. Lots of wonderful twists and turns in the story. I absolutely loved writing this book because I could put myself in the reader's shoes, and it's just like, there were times I had to quit writing. I had to stand up and run around the room because it was like, oh my God, they're going to love this. They're going to love this twist. They're going to love this. They're going to relate to this so powerfully. And so it is a story. Read the story. But then most people do not read it just once. They go back through, and then they start to realize that within the realm of the story is a system, the 7L system, that allows you to get a massive amount of referrals in the generosity generation. So the way to engage it is to just read it, and then read it again for the information. And then what you're going to find out is this book is really 7 or 8 levels deep in its depth. There are strategies and little things that the coach says, and there's other things that you won't pick up the first 3 or 4 times you read it, but as you engage with it and it becomes part of your life, you're gonna read the book differently every single time.
Excellent. Now, Michael, we're to my favorite part of the interview, and that's where I'm really going to hand over the mic and say, give us a great summary or overview of your book. And like I said, you don't have to go so much chapter by chapter, but really for that reader/listener that's saying, is this my next great read? If you can give them a great summary of what your book is all about.
Yeah, wow. Well, I would say the first thing is this book is not about real estate, right? So if you're looking for a real estate book, then maybe my book is not the one for you. And it's okay not to read it if that's your goal, right? But if your goal is about building great relationships, having a legacy when you pass away that carries on the philosophy of generosity, then 7L is the book for you, right? So what is 7L? And 7L, you come into the book and it pulls you right in because you get to know Rick Masters. And Rick Masters is a real estate agent who has just suffered, like the real estate market, a really difficult time. And Rick Masters is meeting with a mortgage professional for a lunch. And what's interesting is the first chapter is the lunch of a lifetime. And so you actually read through and you get to hover over and it kind of be a fly on the wall to their conversation, which also has many referral generating strategies within it. And as you read through, you realize that Michelle is a master of the generosity generation of the 7L system. Well, at that lunch, he starts to feel hope. And then he has been invited by Michelle to a speaker, to Jay Michaels. Jay Michaels is a speaker, and he's the leader of the generosity generation. So he's invited to a generosity generation event. He attends, and he listens in to Jay and the testimonials and hears lots of great strategies about how to lead with generosity. And instead of getting on the chase cycle, which is chasing business and cold calling and door knocking and just chasing, this whole thought of chasing strangers, marketing to strangers, and converting it to communicating with friends, communicating with people you know, and communicating in a way that people rapidly become friendly with you and become interested in you because of your interest in them. And at that event, he has a decision to make, which it's a very expensive decision. And that decision is whether to pursue coaching or not. And after, I mean, and listen, this guy's down in the dumps. He doesn't have a ton of money, but he makes the decision to invest in himself and invest in the generosity generation and invest in coaching. So so the next 7 chapters, Coach, yeah, I'm really creative that way, right? The name of the coach is Coach. So Coach takes him through the 7L system. And we get to not only hear Coach, but we experience with Rick the difficulties that he has in implementing and the reasons that he is being taught the certain things that he is from Coach. And through those 7 chapters of really, learning that, listen, we're in a people business, not a numbers game, right? It's not a numbers game. It's a relationships game. And he learns the power of blocking off time to build relationships. And he learns that you can't even spell communicate without TIME, right? And he learns about the power of phone calls. That's a phenomenal chapter. And my favorite chapter, which makes sense, which is chapter 7, which is on communication plans, right? When I netted nearly $1 million in my 3rd year of real estate, right? So I had a lot of success very quickly. My gross was 1.35. My sales was 40.1 million. I grossed $986,000, or I netted $986,000. And if I knew I was that close, I would have just went and bought a rental property, But I did not have a business plan, which is amazing because I have my MBA in business marketing and communications, right? So I did not have a business plan. I did not have a marketing plan, but I had one plan, and it was a communication plan. So Coach goes through the communication plan with Rick in chapter 7. And then chapter 8 is about electronic communication and social media, how that plays a part. And truly, that's one of the big differences about what we teach and what has been taught. First of all, we teach never, ever ask for referrals. You should never ask for referrals, which is so counter to what's been taught for years when it comes to referral generation that that is one difference. But the other difference is that we have a social media piece that is over the top. And we have over 65,000 likes and fans on our Facebook page, which is, more than most trainers and speakers, just because we have a social media plan within our communication plan. And then, it wraps up. The story hits home in chapters 10, 11, and 12. When J. Michael speaks again, Rick has been transformed, and he has wanted to have a relationship with Michelle, but Michelle's engaged, right? So and not only that, but Rick was not worthy of Michelle. He had to become a better person just to get on her level. And what's funny is he found out that by developing his business in the generosity generation, not only did his business get better, but he got better as a person. And he became more worthy of Michelle as the story goes on. And then there's an antagonist called Don Dasick. And just to tell you how deep this story is, Don Dasick's last name is derived from Dasic. And Dasic is Freud's word for the ego. Dasic means the ego. And Don Dasic represents the ego throughout this entire book, while Rick represents selflessness and becoming more selfless. How does selflessness succeed in the world of sales and business that we see today. And the 7L system is the way to do that. And so there's some things that Don Dasick reveals at the end that are very powerful. And then we wrap up with another lunch of a lifetime, where what you find out is that you never know which lunch is going to be the lunch of a lifetime. So how many lunches would you go on if you knew that the next one you went on could be the lunch of a lifetime? And that is 7L. It's truly at its deepest level, it's a battle of ego versus selflessness. We want to portray an image of success so that people think we're a success, but our image of success could actually be repelling referrals. So how do we communicate in a way that attracts referrals while also shows that we're a success? And that's what Rick learns throughout 7 levels and 7L.
So Michael, that was a perfect review of your book. That was absolutely amazing.
I've never been asked to do that before. That was very intimidating and very overwhelming. So usually people ask me about 1, 2, or 3 strategies from the book.
Yeah.
And out of 100, that's pretty easy, right? I've never been asked to summarize the entire book. So I hope I didn't take too long on that. I could talk about it forever.
That was perfect timing. But what was shocking is that it was your first time. That almost sounded like that was your 150th time. that was very well done.
Well, it's like describing your kid, right? I mean, this book is my baby. In fact, I had this book before I had Max, and this book is my first baby. I mean, it's my heart and soul. If you want to know more about Michael Mayer, you'll read 7L, and you'll see my heart and soul. And it was a labor of love, and when it's heart work, it's not hard work. And it's truly it's my heart and soul. So it was like you were asking me to describe my 6-year-old to you, and I can do that. And I could talk all day about 7L or Max.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's one of the reasons why we started the podcast in the first place. And not to be morbid at all, but we talk about authors will come and go. We haven't had someone live forever yet. So based on the fact that they'll come and go, but the book will live on. The book will continue to live on. And so that's why we really like to focus. And what you just did was give us a, synopsis. And hopefully people are listening to this, 100, 200 years from now, and can still get the content of the book or the principles out of the book. And that kind of leads into our next question, which I think is somewhat of a mean question, but it's a very important one. And I say mean just because your book has so much great content and context within it that it might be difficult to answer. And that is, if the reader could only take one concept or a principle or an action item out of your entire book, what would you want that to be?
Yeah, that is hard. With 108 referral generating strategies, which one do you choose, right? And I would have to say it's going to be a philosophy, right? The philosophy is give generously and receive appreciatively, right? And that if you take that concept, and it's like, wow, first of all, we're givers, but we are reactive givers, right? We're really good when somebody has a tsunami or a tornado or a death in a family or an injury or illness. We are phenomenal at reactively giving and helping that person, which is fantastic. It's great that we do that as a society. Where we suffer, where we've never been taught, is proactive generosity. And proactive generosity is generosity without the expectation, right? Generosity that is unexpected. And proactive generosity is so powerful. It's like throwing a pebble in the pond. And in some ways it's like throwing a boulder in the pond, because it's going to create big ripples that go out and hit the other side of the pond and then waft back right to you, right? And so give generously, and that means proactively. So help people conquer their challenges, help people achieve their goals, help people overcome their problems, and what will happen proactively without them asking for it is that reciprocity will kick in. And especially at the top levels of the socioeconomic status, the more successful people are, the faster and more powerfully they reciprocate. So it is going to reciprocate. and we need to receive appreciatively. And what's amazing about this, all of our research is so sad when it comes to referral appreciation. What happens is the appreciation comes in, and people have been taught to have like a referral reward system, which is to give somebody a $10 gift certificate to Starbucks or a $25. And the fact of the matter is listen, in the 7L system, you will not do that, right? It's not that we suggest you don't do that. It's like you do that, you're out of the system, right? Because here's the thing, right? Is why would I dollarize or monetize that relationship, right? As soon as you monetize or dollarize a relationship, you have lost the personal part of the relationship. You have lost the part of the relationship that led to the referral. People will not refer to you because you're going to give them $500. They will refer to you because you've communicated to them in a way and you've provided value to their life, and they understand that the way to reciprocate is through referrals and no other way, right? And the other thing about receiving appreciatively is givers are notorious for being poor receivers. So not only do I teach proactive generosity, I also teach how to receive appreciatively and get those arms wide open and let that come in. Let it come back to you. And when somebody says, "How can I help you?" or "What can I do for you?" you don't say, "Oh, don't worry about it." Because trust me, they're not going to worry about it if you say that. What you've got to do is be ready with an answer. When somebody asks you, "What can I do for you? How can I help you? Who should I refer you? Who should I connect you to?" you need to have an answer. And when somebody asks, "How are you? What can I do for you?" there's one answer. You have one answer. The answer is referrals. The answer is referrals. So just know that no matter what if they say, "How can I help you? What can I do for you?" the answer is always referrals. Now, what you say after that word is up to you, right? You can cater it directly to them, or you can just have a stand pat answer like, "What can I do for you?" Referrals. Listen, when you come across anyone you know who is looking to move, whether they're going to buy, sell, or just invest in real estate, I want you to know something. I can move anyone anywhere. I can help anyone anywhere. When you have a real estate need or a friend who has any real estate questions, just remember me. Send them my way. I'll answer the question. I'm always open. I'm here to help, right? So, and what's funny is givers have, once they learn how to receive, what happens to a giver who receives, right? What happens to a giver who doesn't receive, right? They give and they give and they give and they give until they can't give anymore. They're exhausted, right? They're the sacrificial lamb, truly. But what happens when a giver receives is that they're energized. They are stronger givers. And in fact, that's what happens when a giver receives, is it's like they have this they've gone from idle to full speed ahead. And they're looking for ways to give. And guess what? They give and then they receive, but when they give again, they're not just giving in equal kind. What that energized giver does is they give at a higher, more powerful level. Well, guess what the reciprocity is? The reciprocity is higher and more powerful coming back to them. So they're energized. They love to go to work every day. Do you think Oprah loves to go to work every day? Why did Oprah soar? Because she was a giver who learned how to receive, right? So anyway, so give generously and receive appreciatively is the philosophy, with all the little tidbits that I gave within that.
Perfect. So Michael, I've pulled several different quotes that I've picked out of this interview so far. But the next question is, do you have a favorite quote from your book? And it could be a quote that you personally wrote and love, or one that your audience has basically told you is amazing.
Wow. Well, I little did I know that when you write a book, you know, a lot of pieces of your book automatically becomes, you know, quotes that they put on Facebook and things like that. If I think I would have written some of it differently if I would have known that. But I think so. I think the biggest thing is Man, I have so many. I mean, perfect is the enemy of done comes to mind, which is great for a lot of the procrastinators out there. We have the do it now statement, which is so powerful. Um, I always say it's time to quit marketing to strangers, and it's time to start communicating with friends.
That was my
But
favorite one.
yeah, yeah, and on that note, I think if I had to boil it down, it's from the appreciations chapter. I have a chapter on affirmations and appreciations and the power. In fact, the reason that I'm on this podcast today and honored to be so is because of affirmations and appreciations. And so what you appreciate appreciates is a statement that boils from this statement, and it is time to replace our insatiable appetite for what we don't have and replace it with an insatiable appreciation for what we do have.
That's huge.
And that has changed my life. I mean, truly, I think of my wife, I think of my kids, I think of everything that has come to me, not just in the last 3 years or 4 years, but throughout my life. It just what you appreciate appreciates, and what I mean by that is I mean, here's a great example, Wade, and you can definitely relate to this. Where are we at on time, by the way? Do we need to wrap up right now, or
most of our podcast interviews are 20 minutes, but when
great.
when someone's throwing out as much value as you are, there's no way I'm going to stop it. So we're short on time, but at the same time, you're doing awesome. So keep rolling.
Well, thank you. I think just two things on appreciation is that, what you appreciate appreciates, right? First of all, have you ever done something that you thought was kind of a big deal for someone, and they like didn't even acknowledge it, or that they didn't appreciate it? Have you ever had that experience?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So how likely are you to do something for that person again?
Yeah, not very likely.
Yeah, so let me ask you this on the flip side, right? So have you ever done something that you thought was just kind of like part of your job or part of who you are, and then they were like so sincerely, genuinely, so appreciative that you just knew it and felt it? Have you ever had that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're kind of describing my the first scenario or some of my worst friendship, relationships. And then your second example is I can think of my best friend or best friends, and that's exactly what it is, with that appreciation.
Yeah, how likely are you to do something for that person that was just so appreciative when you did something that was just part of your job?
Yeah, it's so easy to give to people like that.
Yeah, you're going to run through a brick wall for that person. Well, that's when it comes to appreciation is when somebody refers someone to you. It is amazing how many of the referrals the balls are dropped on, which is sad. But it's even more sad or sadder that about the fact that there are times when a referral comes in, they've bought, and the person who referred that person to the vendor has never even been contacted, communicated, or appreciated at all. And what's amazing about that is the number one way to express that appreciation is with a sincere, genuine, appreciative phone call. And the number two way is with a sincere, appreciative handwritten note. And look at what is the cost of that appreciation? Well, the cost is millions of dollars. Right? So you might think, well, the cost is just $3. It's the handwritten note and then the free phone call. But what it's costing you not to do that is millions of dollars. And so the fact of the matter is we need to be appreciative. And I mean like sincerely appreciative. And appreciation is not appreciation until it's acknowledged. We don't know that they understand how appreciative we are until they acknowledge it, until they say, hey, no problem, or thanks for taking care of my friend, or wow, thank you, for being so appreciative. So the bottom line there is whatever you want more of, appreciate what you have. You want great relationships in your life, then appreciate the ones that you have. You want more things in your life that you enjoy, like travel or your home or nice cars, is appreciate the ones you have. And when you appreciate the ones you have, you're going to be in a position to have more, right? Why? Here's the deal. Why would God, as a parent, give you more of something that you don't appreciate? Right? I mean, think about it. And here's the thing: is the universe, the God, whatever you want to say there, but it's just like any parent. Is if you had a kid go to school, 12-year-old go to school with a mobile phone, you paid $400 for it. They come out, it's broken. 2 weeks later, you get them a new phone. They come back out, it's broken. Would you get a third phone? The answer is no. Why not? Because they didn't appreciate the phone. Well, guess what? What you appreciate appreciates. If you didn't have to buy the second phone, and here's the other thing. So if you didn't have to buy the second phone, you would have $400 to use on something else. When you appreciate your couch, your refrigerator, your house, you don't have to spend money maintaining it because you've taken care of it. So you can now take that money and invest it in other things that you like and want. And how likely is that 12-year-old to get a new glove or a new coat or whatever else it might be that's above and beyond? The fact is, you're not going to get it for them because they haven't been appreciative. It's the same thing with the universe, with God, is that why would they give you more if you don't show that you're going to appreciate what you have?
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal. And there's no doubt that your book is a paradigm shifting book. And that kind of leads into our last question. That's basically, is there a book that you can recommend that did the same thing for you that your book is going to do for other people, that had
Yeah,
created a
well,
paradigm shift and had a
yeah.
huge impact on your life?
So I've read over 1,500 business books, and I've implemented everything from them and wrapped them into 7L. I think that's something that people have really related to. Usually when I get that question, I ask a question back with, what is your biggest challenge right now? What would you most like to read about? Because out of my mind, the 1,500 books come to mind, right? If I had to say, I mean, there's three of them, and I hate to do that. And what's funny is people are like, "Oh, I've heard that before." Geez, but it's How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Read it twice. Like you've read it once, and you're like, "I've been there, done that." No, you really haven't, right? The other one is Think and Grow Rich, and once again, Napoleon Hill. He's got a great new audio out called "Interview with the Devil" or "Outwitting the Devil."
Outwitting, yeah.
Oh my gosh, phenomenal audiobook. And so Think and Grow Rich. And then the very first self-improvement book I ever read was by Og Mandino, and it was The Greatest Salesperson in the World. And listen, I know those are classics, but they changed the way that I looked at the world. And you can smell them when it comes to 7L. You see it, you hear it, and it's coming to you. And just the last one, I know I'm throwing a billion out here, but Give and Take is one that just came out a year and a half ago by Adam Grant. He's the highest rated professor ever at Wharton. He's under 35 years old, and he has studied successful salespeople. And he found out the worst salespeople in the world are givers, believe it or not. And what he then found is that the second worst salespeople in the world were takers. They're the ones that go to events and take, and they're kind of in the world to get what they can. And then the level above the takers were matchers, right? You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's kind of a tit for tat world. And then he found out there was a top level of salesperson, the best of the best in the world, the top half of 1%, and they were also givers. So what was the difference between the givers at the top, and I mean the very top, and the givers at the very bottom? What made the difference between a sacrificial lamb and a roaring lion? Well, you're going to have to read Give and Take to find out.
That's awesome.
The answer is 7L, but I'll let you read that and make that determination for yourself. And Wade, this is you know what? You've been so generous with your time. I don't know if I've ever spoken this much at one time ever. I'm kind of you've inspired it to come out of me, so thank you.
No, thank you so much. This is my whole goal is to create as much value as possible for our listeners, and that is exactly what I don't even know how long it's been. I don't even keep up with it. As long as there's value being provided, and that's exactly what's been done. So thank you so much for for coming on. And Michael, before we depart, can you recommend the best way for our listeners to get more information, not only on you, but also on your book, which we talked about the second edition coming out soon, but 7 Levels of Communication?
Your timing is perfect, right? So the first one is go to facebook.com/referral guru. I've been known as the referral guru. I probably would have changed or chosen a different tag, but that is stuck. So facebook.com/referral guru, over 65,000 friends and likes out there. I have one purpose with that page, and that is to give you pictures and posts that you can share that will lead to referral conversations, which will lead to referrals for your business. So that's my purpose with the Referral Guru page on Facebook. The second one is exciting because it's today, right? It's September 2nd. And the second edition with several changes, the new and improved 7L, comes out today. So go to Amazon, look up 7L, which is just open parentheses 7, the letter L, close parentheses, the 7 levels of communication. And here's what I'll do for you. Do me a favor. You see this podcast and you buy it on Amazon. Do me a favor, right? And here's the deal. You could buy 1, you could buy 2, you could buy 5, you could buy 10. It's up to you. When you do that, do me a favor and email me the order from Amazon at info, I-N-F-O, at join, J-O-I-N, Gen, G-E-N, so info at joingengen.com. Email me your order, and we'll send you something that's really, really cool. It's an over $500 value, and it's yours free for investing in us during our launch, which is today. How cool is that, Wade? Yeah. You're the man. This is the only podcast I'm doing today. So how fun is that?
That's perfect. That's very good. And Michael, I'm going to throw everything you just said in the show notes so that if someone's on the treadmill right now, they're walking on the beach, whatever they may do, as long as they go back and check out the show notes, they can get all the information of everything that you just spoke of, because that's obviously even more value. So Michael, again, thank you so much for your time and coming on and sharing. This is what I say, even though you called it the same thing, but sharing your baby with us.
Well, thank you. It's been an honor and privilege, like I said before, and I have to tell you, thank you, Wade, for all the value that you provide entrepreneurs everywhere, not just your listeners and your audience, but the others that you impact on a daily basis. This has been just a fantastic experience from the moment we were contacted to today, and I just wanted to let you know that how appreciative I am as an author and a speaker and a trainer of the professionalism that you provide, but even more so the value that you're providing the world. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for mentioning that. I appreciate that big time. Thanks again for listening in today. If you would like to get your hands on 7 Levels of Communication or any of the other resources mentioned by Michael, just look at the show notes at the elpodcast.com. And if there is a book you would love to hear reviewed by the author, please visit us on iTunes and leave us a review with the book title.
Looking for your next book idea? Head over to the elpodcast.com, where Wade shares his amazing resource, the top 10 business books recommended by over 500 entrepreneurs, with you for free. That's the elpodcast.com. Till the next time, keep it on the EL.